Welcome to the VA Today pod and videocast with your host, Gail Alexander, a podcast about VAs, for VAs, and businesses looking for the right VA to help to start grow their business. Find the right VA today and visit VA Today on YouTube and ava-ni.com to find out more about VAs and what they can do for you, and get in touch with the virtual assistants you need today.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's edition of the VA Today, and today I am joined with TK or Terence Kierans from Perth, Australia, and I am really excited and really interested to do this interview. Terence is a virtual assistant with nearly or over 30 years experience, so he's probably going to teach me a thing or two today. His company is Cyberspace Virtual Solutions or Services, sorry. There's my first mistake today, and this was created and started in 2000, but he has been working in the industry for a lot longer, but has a very varied work experience, and something that we will hopefully talk about and touch on today. So thank you very much, Terence, or should I say TK?
TK it is.
Great. That's great. Thank you very much. And it's probably getting towards finish time, clocking off time for you, whereas it's first thing in the morning for me. So yeah, probably why I'm a bit fuzzy.
Half past 4 in the afternoon for me.
Yeah, we're just off school drop off, so I'm all a bit frazzled this morning. But anyway, so wanted to talk with TK this morning because, as I said, he has been virtual assistant and in business as a freelancer, as his own business owner for quite a while. And so we just wanted to get an idea and to tell the audience about your work history, which I am really excited to hear more about, because it does involve a little lunar landing in 1969, but there's also a whole range of other experiences you have for being a photographer, being an IT consultant, technical writer, and a virtual assistant. So if you want to tell us just basically in a rough idea your work experience and how you got into the virtual assistant industry.
Well, long story short, I'd been working for myself since 1985, which gives my age away. And
experience, not age, experience.
I'd been working as a contract project manager with a very big Australian firm, BHP. And at the end of that contract, unfortunately, I'd been an asthmatic for quite a while, and the climate in Canberra where I was working wasn't too good for me at all. And the doctor decided I needed to move to somewhere warm and dry.
Don't we all?
So Perth was my obvious choice, because Western Australia was my first home in Australia.
Yeah.
But when I got here, I found that the amount of money they were willing to pay contractors was abysmally small. And I happened to read an article in a newspaper about this lady who was a virtual assistant. And it described what she did. And I thought, well, if she can do it, I can. And that's how I started off. And I've been doing it virtually ever since.
Virtually ever since. So obviously it's something that you came about in an accidental sort of way, which is kind of similar to how I came about it, but it's obviously something that you really enjoy doing because you have been doing it for quite a while. So can you tell me why it's something that you've stuck at? Because to be a business owner, a solopreneur, as people would call it now, for such a long time, you've obviously had a lot of success and you're very good at what you do. But to do that, I think you have to enjoy what you're doing. So what is it about being a virtual assistant that you really like doing?
I think it's the freedom to work with whom I want and work when I want. If I don't want to work, I don't. Maybe I should work harder, but at my age, I've been working hard long enough.
Yes, I think you have. But it's something that you must take a lot of credit for, that you're still working after such a long and varied history and in various different roles that would have been very stressful. But it's obviously the VA lifestyle is something that's really enjoyable. And I know from my experience, and you said yourself, you get to work with whomever you want to. So it can be a really varied choice of work to do. I've worked with people that do social media. I've worked with people that do apps for mental health. I've worked with people that create body protectors for horse equestrian. So it's a very varied industry to work in. And I think that's kind of what makes it exciting in a way. Do you have any, well, I suppose I really shouldn't ask any of your specific customers, but are there any sort of particular customers or businesses or experiences or industries that you've particularly enjoyed working in?
I have enjoyed and still do. I like helping people like chiropractors.
Yeah.
Because I can use my Microsoft Access database skills so that I can monitor their clients and let the chiropractor know when they sort of haven't called in for a while and should be calling in more regularly.
You need a bit of a tune-up.
And in fact, one of the chiropractors could do a little bit of a write-up for me about how much it's helped her. And the other one I enjoy, although occasionally I get a bit twitchy with him because he's so demanding, is doing copy editing for somebody whose English is their second language.
Okay.
And they need, if they're working in a professional business, they need obviously to be a little bit more literate in English.
Yeah.
And this one, always his emails are very, very, very urgent. And he always wants stuff done yesterday. So he pays a loading, because if somebody wants stuff done within 24 hours, I put a loading on.
Okay. And so for people that don't know that, a loading on is basically an extra charge because they want it too urgently. And so that's kind of a pricing structure and practice that you do. And for new VAs, that's something that's, you know, worth looking at and a valuable piece of advice. But
I only do that for ad hoc clients.
Yeah.
Otherwise, my chiropractors have been on a retainer.
Yeah.
Of 10 hours a month.
Yeah.
For which they get a small discount.
So that's a good thing to talk about, that there is specific ways to price your services to different situations and different industries and different clients as well. So that's something to look at when you're talking about retainer or one-off projects or urgent projects that some people may and do have. But I think that also adds to, some days you just don't know what you're going to be doing. You have a fair idea of your set work, but you know, new projects may come to you, and so that makes it all the more interesting. So when you're talking about your work there, I just want to talk about the services that you yourself offer. I know, like, you've been self-employed, you've worked in IT, project manager, you talked about your MS project experience on Microsoft Works. So you've done business continuity management and client management change. There's a whole list here, and I'm just reading through it, so don't try and forget some of them. Tech writer, quality manager, systems architect. So there's a whole range of services that you yourself offer to clients. Is there any sort of more, well, sort of particular task that you do more often than not? What would you say your specialty?
I have tended to more or less limit what I offer now. Quality management documentation. I help people to get ISO certification.
Yeah, ISO certification is quite
Um,
big,
Copy editing, as I said, particularly for people whose English is their second language. I use Microsoft Excel quite a bit for data analysis.
I can do that, I just don't like it. So I need your help.
And as I said, Microsoft Access, I build people specialized databases.
And that's quite a good skill.
Occasionally I'll do things like HTML newsletters and website updates and maintenance. I don't design. I'm not creative.
I think you're experienced enough in the technical side that the tools that people really need, it's like, oh my goodness, what's happened here? How can I make this work? I think creativity, anyone can have a go at.
Anything that involves Microsoft Office, if you like, because I've been working with Windows and Microsoft Office more years than I care to remember.
So you know all the ins and outs fairly well then?
Most of them, I think.
Most of them. So you've had, well, all those services that I've talked about that you do, and you've talked about the ones that you're kind of niching down into, would maybe be the term, but you have such an experience that you've worked with companies that are based in the UK, Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore. So it just shows the wealth of experience you and VAs can have in general. And also for different service industries. So there'd be service, there'd be public, private, government industries. So again, it shows the wealth and the depth that VAs can work in and the services that they can provide. So it's one thing to say it's a really good industry to be in, but it's also a really good support industry. And I find that from doing interviews with other VAs around the world that it's a very collaborative industry and it's not competitive. And that's something I really love about the industry. And I guess doing something like this just shows that it's an industry that people can go into but not feel the pressure to compete with other so much that they can reach out and ask people for help at any time. And there's always a genuine piece of advice from somebody out there who really wants to help people. And so I know I'm a member of quite a few VA groups in the UK. Are you a member of any specific Australian virtual assistant associations?
Yeah, there's one A4BN, which is a chapter of an American company, AVA, run by Sharon Williams.
Yes, I know Sharon Williams.
Who is a contact of yours.
Yeah. So
about the only one. I did join quite a few to begin with.
Okay.
And at one stage I was president of the American Institute of Virtual Assistants Association.
Very good.
But had a slight difference of opinion with them over a couple of things, including a previous president. Okay. And I decided to let it slide because, to be honest, I wasn't getting anything out of it and I didn't feel that anybody was taking any contribution from me.
Okay.
So it was cut back and it's now just A4 VVN.
Okay. And then from these kind of...
Oh, no, there is another one. VA networking.
VA networking, okay, yeah.
Run by a Canadian lady,
Mm-hmm.
Tonya Sutherland.
Yep, I will be talking to Tanya as well, hopefully soon. So, as you said, all these groups, and you've mentioned where they're based, it shows how global they are, but that doesn't really matter. You know, it's all about supporting people and virtual, and that's exactly the reason why we are virtual assistants. We can work for anyone, anywhere. So I think it's a really great industry to be in because of that. You know, you're meeting so many amazing and talented and interesting people like yourself. So I think a piece of advice for any VA, new or even older and experienced, definitely find the group that suits you. And as you say, you know, you're only a member of a couple because that's what works for you best. You know, you don't have to be a member of them all. So before you started as a VA, and you're obviously skilled in a lot of different pieces of software, a lot of different industries, did you take any specific virtual assistant training? Or did you just go into the industry? Yep.
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. So it was just basically taking the skills you had and going online with them, and then just learning the VA part of it as you went. So,
Sorry?
And so you just basically took the skills that you had and took them online and just learned the VA, how to do the sort of virtual assistant part of it as you went.
Yeah.
So learning how to contact clients or attract clients to you. Is there any specific way that you personally would go about getting a client? How do you market yourself, basically? Is it word of mouth?
Well, what I've done and what has worked for me so far has been my website, and I did run a newsletter for a period of time, but it didn't seem to be making much difference. And also referrals, word of mouth.
Yeah. I think that's...
And that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's a common thing.
I think I do need to work as any new VA definitely would, but even older ones, you've got to keep marketing.
Yeah, you have to keep putting
because
yourself
if you
out there.
lose clients, it leaves a bit of a gap, and it's too late to start filling that gap once they've left.
So it's to keep on top of your marketing activities.
Yeah.
If that's too much, you could even hire a VA yourself to do it.
That's right. I need to hire one to do my marketing.
Yeah. I need to hire somebody to keep on top of a calendar. Oh dear. So how do you manage your VA or your working life? I know that at a certain part of the day, your wife brings you a nice glass of wine to help you wind down, and I think that's a really nice way to sort of mark the end of the day, and you're obviously blocking time to specific tasks, and after that it's work-life balance. But how do you specifically manage your day, or is there a typical day?
I think it's the way I've been working anyway, certainly recently, it is a fairly ad hoc manner. If I feel like work, I mean, I always check on my email input to see if anybody wants anything.
Yeah.
And although I said earlier on that I'm not creative, I feel that maybe I should be a bit more creative. So I've been studying Adobe Photoshop and InDesign.
Very good. Yeah,
and I've found certainly InDesign very, very useful in designing and updating web pages, and certainly newsletters.
Yeah, it's definitely a piece of software and a tool that other people can look into.
And I think it's important, particularly as you get more advanced in years, it's more important to be continually learning to keep your brain active.
I don't think that matters what age you are. I think you're right. You just need to continually learn whatever age you are, you know, just for your own personal mental health, never mind your business. So I think that's admirable and great. And I love the fact that you still are doing that. And I know that when you'd finished your career with NASA, the space agency, which is something we'll get onto, that you retrained and were a photographer, and then you've retrained again, and so you keep continually learning. I take it that is something that you, well, I know that it's something you would advocate for VAs, because especially in the social media world and marketing world, everything is changing so much and so quickly. So is that something you would specifically say, just keep on learning and just have a hunger for learning?
Yeah, you've got to have that hunger, because otherwise you're going to fall behind.
Yeah.
And you're going to find that, you know, in a year or so's time, people are asking work to be done that you just don't understand. In fact, there was a very good ebook put out by, can't remember the name of the company, but they run a VA University,
Right,
run by Craig, somebody or the other, and he's just published a book called, I think it's 150 skills, so that people help people to determine their niche, where they want to work, because being a generalist is no good.
okay.
You've got to specialize in order to make yourself different.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's pretty good advice as well for any business, you know, find your niche in the market, and then
so coming back to your original question about my work day, I usually try to do a certain amount of time studying after I've checked my emails. And then, of course, as you know, I do have another big interest.
Yeah.
And I tend to work on that a bit.
Okay.
Otherwise, put my feet up and have a read.
Bless. Nothing better than a good read. I just wish I had the time to have a read, because having a 3 and a 5-year-old, it's not the easiest thing to manage. Doing this channel and then running after those 2 monkeys. So
you've got at least 3 things to be managing every day.
Yeah, it's quite a juggle, but again, we talked about it, you have to enjoy it, and it has to be a passion. And the more I do this, talking with people, it's so amazing to find all these different characters, but also to find the work experience and their journey that they've gone on. So talking about that, when we first spoke, you telling me that you originally came from Stevenage, so you're originally from the UK, and you moved out to Australia in the 60s, and this was to be part of the Carnarvon tracking station in Western Australia as part of the NASA manned space flight. So when you told me this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. So it just shows the variety of experience people have. But this is something that you said is quite a big side project that you have, and the reason for that is it's the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 lunar landing next year. And so that's something that you want to promote. And I guess that's so right. It's like the VA industry, virtual assistant. Nobody really knows about it. And I'm guessing everyone knows about Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong and Houston and all that side of it, but probably not so well about the part that Carnarvon and Australia played in that. So if you just want to tell us a wee bit more about that. You were a systems administrator. I don't think that's the right title. But if you want to tell us a wee bit more about that.
Operations supervisor. I was basically the link between Houston, who were running the show, and the tracking station, making sure that the site was always ready to support any mission. And we would get something called a network operations directive
Okay.
before each mission. And that was cut up into sections depending on, and that was sent round to the engineers in charge of each area of the tracking station. And that gave them the details of how they had to be configured. And then prior to any acquisition that we were set up for, there were a series of tests that we used to run on the station to make sure that everybody was ready.
Okay.
And then occasionally, of course, during the mission, there might be a change, and that would be passed down to me, and then I'd pass that out to the appropriate engineer.
Okay, and so that was for not just the Apollo 11 missions, but it was also for Apollo 7, 8, 11, Gemini 3 and 11, and Skylab. So it's quite a few space missions, but of course everyone knows about the moon landing. And so when I was doing my homework and reading up, I just want to explain how important Carnarvon and your work and the whole team's work would have been. It was to provide the uplink for trans-lunar injection, so basically the propulsion movement to set the trajectory towards the actual moon landing. Would that be correct?
Yeah,
so that's
right.
Pretty major piece of part of the project. And then also you were the prime link for the Earth re-entry. So again, making sure those astronauts came home. So it's pretty important stuff. So to say that, you're obviously used to a little bit of pressure.
You could say that.
It's always good to have somebody that can deal with pressure, so it just makes you an even better VA. So you were saying that when I was, again, doing a bit of research on it, because it was so interesting, and getting completely sidetracked from the VA industry, but it was the service that you and the team and everyone out there would have provided. They described it as the greatest tracking network in the world, and that your can-do attitude is reflected in the overall success of the first manned lunar landing mission. So obviously that's something that you have. It's this can-do attitude, and that goes through your whole work history, with the retraining to be a photographer, retraining to do virtual assistant work. Is that something that you think all VAs sort of really need to have? It's sort of, you need to push yourself to get out there?
Yep, that's true.
So it's just sort of be a bit more, I don't know, sort of shout your own success and promote yourself, and don't be afraid to do that, because everyone is have their own skills and their own experience, and it is worth very valuable and worthwhile for somebody else to do business with. And so from that, after that closed down and you'd finished the work there, you moved to Canberra, which you talked about earlier, as a project manager and tech writer. But then you also went on to do some training, and you were saying to me the other day you were the oldest person to be a student in a particular subject at the time. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was when the photographer business went down the tubes due to quite a few changes. And that was when I became the oldest trainee computer operator.
That's just so cool that you're obviously not scared to do this and try this.
I'm trying to think what the gap was. This would have been 1978. So I was twice as old as the next oldest person.
So were you giving them pieces of advice on how to do stuff?
But you know, I learned a lot technically that way, and ended up as a network manager with the Department of Immigration. And that was when I had a falling out with the public service and went freelance as a technical writer.
And then that's where the whole sort of VA industry and that journey began.
Yep, that's where it all began.
So I think just talking to you about that, to take from that, I think people should look at it, you know, things happen, like how I came to be a VA, my company restructured globally, and a lot of global staff were like a third of the, I can't remember, it was a third of the global staff and a quarter of the offices, or the other way around, but were made redundant. And at the time, it's horrible. And even if you have to leave work because just something doesn't work for you, it's not a great time. But if you have the drive, the passion, you can go out there and do something else. And that's how I, in the last 2 years, totally retrained. I'm a geographer by background, but I'm totally retraining in social media and video. And so it just shows you that you just don't know what's going to happen, but you don't need to be afraid of that, because even better things can come from that. Because I am totally sure that 2 years ago, I didn't think I would be talking to somebody in Western Australia about the virtual assistant industry and talking about the lunar landing. So you just don't know what's going to happen. So I think the advice is just embrace the...
Coming back to that, just a quick one on the lunar landing.
Okay.
More than half of the population of America and Australia were not even born when it happened.
Yeah, that's a bit of a mad statistic. So yeah, it's definitely something that we need to remind them of, because it was such a feat. It was, I think, nearly just 10 years in the making, in the happening, from JFK announcing it in the early, in 1961 up to, and then it happening in 69 with Nixon as president. So it's a massive achievement. And again, it just shows that the drive, the will, and the passion, you just don't know what you can achieve. So I love the fact that in the VA industry, we have these characters that have done all this. So I think you're possibly one of the coolest VAs I have met so far.
Thank you.
And so do you feel, totally going away from all that, because we could probably talk for ages about it, but as a VA, do you ever feel isolated, you know, because we work from home? And I love the fact that I'm able to do this, because I'd be talking to the walls or myself, which is not good. But do you ever feel isolated working on your own?
No, I don't. I've always been a bit of a loner.
Okay.
And even when I was growing up. And I mean, I've got good support from my wife, who's only just 2 rooms away from here. So, you know, I'm not really isolated. Work-wise, yes, but as regards my life, I'm quite happy the way it's going there.
Okay. So in terms of your life, where do you see, or do you have plans and goals for the next, say, year, 5 years, 10 years even? Do you have long-term goals?
I think 5 years would be the maximum,
okay,
bearing in mind my tender years. And what I really would have liked to have been able to achieve was to have built the business to a stage where it could be sold as an ongoing thing.
Okay.
But I don't think it's going to happen.
There's still time. You never know. Be getting in touch with the right people.
And if I improve my marketing, I might still get there.
There's plenty of
This is something I would always advise anybody who's starting out in the VA industry. It's not so much learning how to be a VA, it's learning how to run a business.
Yeah, so specific business skills.
And treating it as a business.
Yeah.
I was reading an article, or a book. It was based on a survey, and it was amazing the number of people who are running a VA business but are still working full time.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can be successful in either of those two things if that's what you do.
Yeah, long term, I don't think it's sustainable, but I know that's a lot. No. It's a route a lot of people take.
You've got to treat your VA business as a business.
Yeah.
And it's more important for you to learn business procedures, accounting, marketing. You need them. Yeah. Otherwise, your business is just going to tail right off.
And even if it's not the specific, very high level detail of those skills, as long as you have an idea. So I'm not an accountant, and I am never going to be an accountant, but I do have an idea of the processes I need to do. I have my own sort of spreadsheet with the details of incomings, outgoings, that. But then I will also, to help with tax issues, we'll help with that. But so as not to sort of bury yourself in the sand, to at least make sure that you have a basic understanding of each of those disciplines. And then if you need outside help with that, it makes it so much easier, and it makes it able to stay on top of the business. But yeah, it's a bit of change for people who maybe used to working in a business 9 to 5 and then they're running their own business. It's a little bit scary. But it's something you have to do. But there is plenty of help out there that can do.
Oh yes, there's plenty. I mean, there's so many free courses available.
Yeah.
Apart from some that are reasonably priced.
Uh-huh.
But there are a load of free ones.
Yeah. And I think
that's how I'm learning about Photoshop and InDesign.
You'll have to
They're all free tutorials.
Yeah, you can send me the links for that, and I'll put it down in the description of the video as well, because I wouldn't mind having a look at that, but I'd probably get totally sidetracked. But as you said, yeah, there's so much free information out there, and training videos and documents to help. So it's not to be scared of it. I think if you're scared of it and you just go, oh, it won't go away, you need to address it. So I think just having spoken with you previously and into this interview now, we've an idea of that a virtual assistant is a really good job for somebody that maybe wants to have a better work-life balance, or like myself, work around my family and my 2 kids, or it offers them the opportunity to do something that they've never thought possible. And there's another lady that I've spoken to that lived in Canada but always wanted to live in Edinburgh, and the VA and the virtual assistant world has allowed her to do that. But increasingly I see it as a role, as a flexible job that works with women. So I'm interested to see what you think and what your take is on being one of the few men in a predominantly female industry, or does it even make a difference?
I've never thought about it. It's something I can do, and whether I'm a male or a female, it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. Equality for all means equality for men as well. So, but yeah, you're
yeah, that's right.
You're few and far between, I have to say. So it's actually really refreshing to see somebody of the male gender working in this industry, and it's really nice to see and hear their experience.
Yeah, I think it's because I was perhaps I was forced into it by reason of the way the economy was going and what was happening to my health and my work life.
Yeah. And so from your move from Canberra to Perth, do you recommend Perth as a good, healthy destination? I've never been to Perth.
Absolutely. It's the healthiest there is.
Very good. And then the wine.
I mean, we're only just over winter, and it was 23 degrees yesterday.
I mean, we're just out of summer, and it's well, we did have a very good summer here, I have to say. I can't complain. But
yes, you did. My daughter lives in Bristol, and she was saying that how warm it's been.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. We're now back to normal temperatures here in Northern Ireland. We're not quite as warm as Bristol, But yes, 23. So yes, so that's definitely something that if people are going to Perth, to bear in mind. It's lovely, warm. There's the wine region as well. And yeah, Colin TK, he could maybe show you the places to go. So apart from building your experience in marketing and possibly looking to build a business so it can be sold, your side project is the building up of awareness and doing something for the 50th anniversary of the Apollo landing. Is there anything else you want to achieve, even if it's just personally? Is there anything left that you want to do or achieve, or are you just content?
No, I think I've got enough on my plate as it is.
I think you're right. So I think with that, I'm just going to end the interview there, because there's nothing really much more I can say about how cool you are, how amazing your journey and your life history has been, and how resilient you have been, because you've changed and had to change your roles, and just such a great example of what and how a VA should be. And I guess if anyone needs any help, you're probably a great person to contact.
Yeah, they're always welcome to ask. And if I can, I will.
Well, I totally think anyone should. I totally lost the word there, didn't know what to say. But I think anyone, if they're really struggling and want a piece of advice, just find out a bit of experience in a certain area, definitely contact you. And so what is the best way to contact you if anyone wanted to get in touch?
By email message.
Okay. And your email is on your website, which is cyberspacevirtualservices.com, isn't that right? Yeah.
.com.au.
Oh, keep forgetting that, yeah. So those details will be on at the end of this video, so don't worry about that. But I just want to say, TK, thank you so much for being really open to some strange mad lady in the other side of the world contacting me. You hadn't a clue who I was, but you were totally open to the idea of doing an interview that helps talk about you and your business, but as well as the VA and virtual assistant industry. So I really thank you so much for taking the time and being open to this.
You are more than welcome. I've even enjoyed it.
I was going to be a bit worried if you didn't. I'm not that bad. Well, TK, I hope that we will see a lot more of you, and especially with all the 50-year anniversary stuff next year. But for now, I am going to say good evening, because it's evening time, or early evening for you, and enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Yep. Thank you very much, Gail.
You're very welcome.
You take care of yourself.
Will do. Thanks very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.